So, like, I feel really bad about it, but honestly, one of the scariest things to me after seeing this movie is Toni Collette's face. Happy Halloween, everybody! We finally made it to Halloween, and I am so excited to talk about what I think is the scariest movie I have ever seen. Today, our movie in the middle is Hereditary. Hereditary stars Toni Collette, Alex Wolff, Millie Shapiro, and Gabriel Byrne, and is about a family who loses their grandmother, and while they are grieving, they find out that she was a part of some creepy things, and spookiness ensues. I have seen Hereditary once, 2 years ago to this month. I actually saw it with Josh over on the channel Elpenor. You should go check that out. He has some really great video essays on like The Lighthouse and a couple other movies. And since then, I have seen about one horror movie a week. And even with all of those, so close to maybe 100 new horror movies, this is still the scariest movie I have ever seen. Or at least maybe the one that's affected me the most. Toni Collette in this movie is great. And I mean that she's great in a very scary way, because everything she does is just frightening, even if it's not meant to be. It's so weird. Like when she's sad, when she's angry, whatever she is, she's just got such an expressive face, and it terrifies me.
Run.
She's like one of those actresses, like many of the horror actresses in the last couple years, who should have been nominated for something and was completely snubbed. Like, I have no idea how she wasn't nominated for this, because there's a bias in the Oscars. But she was so good as she unravels more of this mystery, as she gets more terrified herself, as she gets angrier about things. She was just really, really good in this movie. Actually, I think it's the first thing I'd ever seen her in. I've also seen her now in Knives Out, and there's a completely different role. Alex Wolff and Millie Shapiro also do a really great job. Millie Shapiro was really creepy, even though she's not supposed to be, but she is supposed to be. You're not really sure at first. She was really, really good at giving that just kind of silent, creepy performance. And then Alex Wolff really blew me away. I didn't even know when I first saw this that was Alex Wolff from the Naked Brothers band. He pulls off emotion and terror really well, like somebody who's experiencing terror of all kinds. He did that really well. I was very shocked at how good he was in this. And of course, being the scariest movie I've ever seen, the scares are probably the #1 high of this movie. The way that everything is set up, it's not only a mystery, but it's also very terrifying once you figure out what's going on, and even before then, because you're not really sure for a while exactly what the plot is, and then the things that actually happen are harrowing. The director of this movie, Ari Aster, is known for making horror movies that are very slow for about 3/4 of it, and then the last quarter of it is very insane. And this was his first movie. He's only made 2 so far, and that definitely follows that pattern, because a lot of it is a slow burn, which I'll get to in a second, but the last 25 minutes are absolutely fucking nuts. So much happens, and they're definitely the scariest of the entire movie. And the reason for that is partly because of how everything is shot and set up. That's another really big high of this movie, is the cinematography, how everything is composed, even the design of the house itself. It all goes to serve a specific theme or like concept about this movie that I don't want to ruin. The actual setup of the shots themselves are so good, because there's a lot of them that don't point you to what's scary. It doesn't show something and go, here it is, isn't that scary? It just shows something, and there's something scary in it, but you don't know what it is or where it is until you see it. Like, you don't even know that something scary is supposed to be there until you're just like, whoa, there is a shot in this movie that is exactly like that will forever stick with me. It and then of course it just gets downright gruesome. There are some very violent things in this movie. There is something before that, however, about a third of the way into the movie that happens, which I think is another point that really puts this movie over the top. Not only is it a very scary movie, it is a very morbid, melancholy movie, and that sets the tone of the entire thing. That's why it not only relies on scares, but it relies on this heaviness, this air that's like super suspenseful and tense, because it's not just scary in the way of monsters or demons or something like that. It's scary in the way of how does a family deal with certain things that happen to them. That tenseness that comes from people not liking each other in their family, that was really well done and gives me a lot of anxiety. The thing that sets that all off was one of the most shocking moments, I think, in film history. Not to like put a lot of expectation on this movie when you watch it, but it's for some people this will be a slow burn. I will say if you're an A24 fan, this is one of the more mainstream of the A24s, which I think is what makes it good, because it's indie enough that it can do some new stuff, but it's mainstream enough that not everyone who watches it is going to be like, oh, I can't take this anymore. It's pretty well paced, and I think the slow burn part of it is very necessary for it. I will say A24 puts the slow and the burn in slow burn, but I think most people would find it, quick enough paced and, mostly like a modern horror movie. So Hereditary is without a doubt one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, if not the scariest, because it just affected me the most. I don't know if that's because it's one of the first horror movies I really ever watched before a 2-year binge of horror movies. It's just so well done. It's not scary just because of the things that happen, but how they happen, how it's built up, how Ari Aster masterfully directs this movie and composes all of its shots. And it's affected me so much that I'll just see a random shot, object from it, or you hear a sound, or you hear a certain word. Even the word hereditary itself is now really creepy to me. Without any context, it's just super scary. When I first watched this movie, I don't know what possessed me to do this. When I watched it with Josh, we watched it in my basement, in the dark, in October, after watching The Witch, which I'd also never seen. What got me to do that, I have no idea. But I had to sleep down in the basement that night. Normally horror movies is one of those things that I can watch it, and even if I'm scared, I'll watch like a TV show or two, like some stupid cartoon, and then I'll be fine, I'll wind down. I had the TV on all night. I could not get to sleep. I was so utterly terrified. So I highly recommend that you go watch Hereditary. If you're a mainstream horror fan, it's going to be something a little different for you. If you're an A24 horror fan, you're never going to shut up about it. To the point where it's kind of annoying. I'm going to give Hereditary a 4 out of 4, making it my next top shelf movie. Guys, let me know what you thought of Hereditary if you have seen it. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely go watch it after this inspiring review. Also, drop down in the comments what you're going to be for Halloween. Are you going to be something? What is your favorite candy? What's your favorite horror movie? Just give me all the Halloween discussion. I'm really excited. And I hope you guys have a really great Halloween. Have a safe Halloween. Go do some fun, spooky stuff. We're sort of out of COVID, so you can kind of do some more things, but still be safe. And as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and Halloween right in the middle. I'll see you guys later.